Welcome to my channel. There is a part of you that dreams about a different kind of life, a quieter life, a life where people do not constantly invade your peace, where rude comments do not replay in your head at midnight, where one small moment does not ruin your entire day. Think about how much energy people lose every single day because they cannot stop thinking about what someone said, what someone did, or how unfair a situation felt. A stranger speaks with attitude. A friend ignores a message. A coworker makes a sarcastic remark, and suddenly the mind becomes a battlefield. Hours disappear inside imaginary arguments that never even happen. You replay conversations while showering, while eating, while trying to sleep. You imagine better responses. You feel angry again and again, even when the moment already ended. Deep down, you do not want to live like this anymore. You want calm, you want control. You want a mind that belongs to you instead of a mind controlled by every loud person, every careless comment, and every random irritation. Now, let us be honest with each other. You will probably still feel anger in your life. You are human. Emotions are part of your nervous system. Anger is not a defect in your personality. It is not proof that you are weak or broken. Anger evolved for a reason. It exists to protect boundaries, to respond to danger, and to signal when something feels unfair or disrespectful. The real problem is not anger itself. The real problem is becoming trapped inside it. The problem is letting one emotional moment control your words, your actions, your sleep, and your peace for the next several hours. Some people become prisoners of reactions. Every small inconvenience controls their mood. Every disagreement becomes a personal attack. They are exhausted because they are constantly emotionally fighting the world. But there is another way to live. You can train yourself to experience anger without becoming owned by it. You can learn to pause before reacting. You can become so emotionally balanced that people around you notice something different about you. They still see strength in you, but they also see calmness. They notice that you do not explode easily. They notice that you do not stay upset for long. That is not weakness. That is emotional mastery. The first thing we need to destroy is a dangerous fantasy that many people secretly believe. They think emotionally evolved people never feel angry. That is completely false. Even wise people feel irritation, disappointment, frustration, and emotional pain. The difference is that they do not immediately obey every emotion that appears inside them. They understand something powerful. Between what happens outside and what happens inside your mind, there is space. Inside that space lives your interpretation, your story, and your response. Most people never notice this space because they react too quickly. Someone cuts them off in traffic, and immediately they think, "What an idiot." Someone forgets something important, and immediately they think, "Nobody respects me." Someone speaks in a cold tone, and immediately they believe they are being attacked. But the trigger outside is only one part of the experience. The second part is the story your mind creates about that trigger. And that story shapes the emotion that follows. This is why two people can experience the exact same situation and react completely differently. One person gets angry for hours, while the other moves on within minutes. The event was the same, but the interpretation was different. If you truly want to stop being controlled by anger, you must become aware of the stories your mind creates automatically. That awareness changes everything. Imagine sending a message to a friend and seeing that they read it without replying. Instantly, the mind begins writing painful explanations. They do not care about me. I am being ignored again. People always treat me like I am unimportant. Anger and resentment slowly grow, even though you may not know the truth at all. Maybe they became busy. Maybe they planned to answer later and forgot. Maybe they are struggling silently with something difficult. This does not mean your feelings are fake. It means your first interpretation is not always reality. The mind fills empty spaces with old fears, insecurities, and expectations. If you carry the belief that people never appreciate you, then many neutral situations will feel personal. One powerful habit can immediately reduce anger in your life. Every time irritation rises, pause and ask yourself one simple question. What story am I telling myself right now? That question creates distance between you and the emotion. Suddenly, you are no longer drowning inside the reaction. Observe it. And the moment you begin observing anger instead of obeying it, freedom begins inside. A huge amount of anger also comes from something people rarely admit: the hidden belief that other human beings should behave according to their personal expectations. They should speak the right way, answer messages quickly, drive carefully, understand feelings without explanation, respect every emotional need, and never disappoint us. When reality refuses to follow these private rules, irritation appears. Underneath many emotional reactions, there is a quiet sentence the ego repeats again and again: the world should move according to my preferences. Of course, nobody says those exact words out loud, but anger often reveals them clearly. Think about how many times people become upset simply because another person behaved differently than they hoped. Someone interrupts them, someone arrives late, someone forgets a promise, someone does not agree with their opinion, and immediately the mind transforms discomfort into personal offense. But the truth is difficult and freeing at the same time. Other people are not characters created to make your emotional life comfortable. They are living inside their own minds, carrying their own fears, habits, wounds, distractions, and pressures that you cannot fully see. Sometimes people are selfish, sometimes they are exhausted, sometimes they are simply unaware. You cannot completely control that reality. You can only control your boundaries, your decisions, and the amount of emotional power you hand over to them. This shift changes everything. Instead of repeating, "How dare they treat me this way?" you begin asking a calmer question: "This is who they are right now. So, how do I want to respond to this reality?" Sometimes the answer is patience, sometimes it is distance, sometimes it is an honest conversation, sometimes it is leaving completely. But what disappears is the endless emotional war inside your mind. Another uncomfortable truth is that anger often protects deeper emotions hiding underneath it. Many people believe anger is the main feeling, but often it is only armor covering pain that feels too vulnerable to face directly. Under anger, there may be shame, fear, sadness, rejection, loneliness, embarrassment, or the feeling of being unimportant. Imagine a partner forgetting something meaningful to you. Maybe you explode with frustration and say they never care. But underneath the anger, there may be another quieter truth. Perhaps you are afraid that you do not matter to them as much as you hoped. Perhaps you feel invisible. Perhaps an old wound from childhood has been touched again. Anger feels powerful, so the mind chooses it first because it protects the softer emotion underneath. This is why emotionally intelligent people learn to become curious about their reactions instead of blindly defending them. The next time anger rises strongly inside you, pause after the first emotional wave passes and ask yourself something honest. If anger is the armor, what is it protecting right now? The answer may surprise you. Maybe you feel disrespected. Maybe you fear abandonment. Maybe you feel powerless. Maybe your pride was hurt. When you identify the deeper emotion, your relationship with anger changes completely. You stop seeing yourself as a victim controlled only by other people, and you begin understanding your own emotional patterns with greater clarity. This does not excuse harmful behavior from others, but it helps you take responsibility for your side of the emotional fire. One of the most important skills in emotional control is learning the power of delay. Human beings often regret fast reactions far more than delayed ones. When anger enters the body, the nervous system prepares for battle. The heart beats faster, muscles tighten, thoughts become extreme. In that state, your brain seeks speed, not wisdom. It wants immediate release. That is why people send messages they regret, shout words they cannot take back, and damage relationships during moments that last only a few minutes. A simple pause can save enormous pain. You do not have to deny the feeling. You only need to delay the reaction. You can say, "I need a moment before we continue this conversation." You can walk outside for 10 minutes. You can write your angry message without sending it immediately. These small pauses create space for intelligence to return. Emotional maturity is not the absence of intense feelings. It is the ability to remain responsible while feeling them. Another powerful practice is learning not to personalize every negative behavior you encounter. Many actions from other people are reflections of their own inner chaos, not accurate measurements of your value. A stressed person may speak harshly. An insecure person may criticize others constantly. An unhappy person may spread bitterness everywhere they go. If you absorb every emotional projection around you, peace becomes impossible. Calm people understand that not every comment deserves emotional attachment. Some things are better observed, understood, and released instead of carried for days inside the heart and mind completely. Another important truth about anger is that it is not only mental, it is deeply physical. Many people try to calm themselves only through thinking, but anger lives inside the body as much as inside the mind. When irritation rises, breathing changes, muscles tighten, shoulders become stiff, and the nervous system enters survival mode. This is why simply arguing with yourself internally often does not work. The body still believes danger is present. One of the fastest ways to reduce emotional intensity is to change your physical state. Walk quickly for a few minutes. Breathe slowly and deeply. Inhale through the nose and exhale longer than you inhale. Stretch your body, splash cold water on your face. These actions send a message to the nervous system that you are safe. Once the body relaxes slightly, the mind becomes less dramatic and less extreme. Many arguments that feel enormous during emotional activation suddenly seem much smaller after movement, breathing, or time. Another reason people stay angry for too long is because they never create healthy boundaries. They tolerate disrespect repeatedly, ignore their own needs, say yes when they mean no, and remain silent about problems until resentment becomes unbearable. Then, one small event finally causes an explosion. But often the real issue was not that single moment. The real issue was months of unspoken frustration building silently underneath. Healthy boundaries protect peace before anger reaches dangerous levels. A boundary is not about controlling someone else, it is about controlling your own participation. You cannot force people to behave perfectly, but you can decide what behavior you allow into your space. Instead of waiting until rage appears, emotionally strong people communicate limits earlier and more calmly. They say things like, I do not appreciate being spoken to that way. I cannot help with this right now. Or, if this conversation continues disrespectfully, I will leave. These statements are not acts of aggression, they are acts of self respect. Many people fear boundaries because they think boundaries create conflict, but in reality, unclear boundaries create far more suffering. Another powerful tool for reducing anger is perspective. In emotional moments, the mind treats everything as extremely important. A rude stranger feels unforgettable. A careless comment feels massive. A disagreement online feels personal. But if you pause and honestly ask yourself whether this situation will matter in a week, a month, or a year, the emotional intensity often decreases immediately. Most daily irritations are temporary. They only gain power because people continue feeding them attention long after the moment has ended. One careless driver should not deserve 3 hours of your mental energy. One foolish comment online should not occupy your thoughts all night. Many people unknowingly rent space inside their minds to strangers for free. Every moment spent replaying useless anger is a moment of life you never recover. Calm people learn to protect their attention carefully because they understand attention is life itself. Humility also plays a major role in emotional peace. Sometimes you are wrong. Sometimes you misunderstand situations. Sometimes you react emotionally before having all the information. Pride makes people defend every reaction as if anger automatically proves they are correct. But emotional maturity includes the ability to admit mistakes honestly. Strong people can say, I misunderstood, I reacted badly, or I am sorry for speaking that way. These words do not make you weak. They reduce unnecessary emotional heat and restore clarity faster. Many conflicts continue only because both people are too proud to step back from emotional defensiveness. Now, some people may wonder whether becoming calmer means allowing toxic behavior to continue without resistance. Absolutely not. Peacefulness is not weakness. Being emotionally balanced does not mean accepting abuse, manipulation, or repeated disrespect. There are situations where distance becomes necessary. There are relationships that slowly poison your mental health. There are environments that constantly drain emotional energy. Sometimes wisdom means reducing contact, walking away, or protecting yourself more seriously. But the difference is this: you do not act from blind emotional chaos. You act from clarity. Anger can alert you that something is wrong, but wisdom decides what action should follow. A calm person can still say no firmly. A calm person can still leave unhealthy situations. A calm person can still defend themselves. The goal is not becoming emotionless. The goal is becoming someone who does not destroy themselves internally every time life becomes difficult. One simple sentence can completely change how you handle difficult people. Instead of repeating, I cannot believe they acted this way, try saying, this is who they are, showing me they are right now. Not who you hoped they were, not who they might become someday, who they are showing you through consistent behavior. Then ask yourself another important question. Given this reality, what responsibility do I have toward myself now? Sometimes the answer is lowering expectations. Sometimes it is creating distance. Sometimes it is accepting that certain people cannot give you what you keep demanding from them emotionally. That acceptance hurts at first, but it also frees you from endless disappointment and emotional exhaustion inside. To close everything together, remember this simple truth. You will still feel anger sometimes because you are human, not a machine. There will still be moments when people disappoint you, misunderstand you, ignore your feelings, or behave carelessly. Life will continue presenting situations that test your patience and emotional balance. But the difference is that you no longer need to become a prisoner of those moments. You do not need to let temporary emotions control your mouth, poison your thoughts, ruin your sleep, or steal your peace for entire days. Between what happens outside and how you live inside, there is always space. Inside that space lives your power. That power grows every time you pause before reacting. It grows every time you question the story your mind automatically creates. It grows every time you calm your body instead of feeding emotional fire with endless thoughts. Emotional control is not built in one perfect day. It is built slowly through repetition, awareness, and practice. One deep breath instead of one angry response. One delayed message instead of one emotional mistake. One honest boundary instead of months of silent resentment. Over time, these small decisions completely transform the quality of your inner life. You begin noticing something incredible. Situations that once destroyed your mood now pass through you more lightly. Comments that once kept you awake no longer deserve your energy. You stop needing to win every argument. You stop needing everyone to understand you perfectly. You stop carrying strangers inside your mind for hours after small interactions. And slowly, a new kind of freedom appears. You begin protecting your peace more seriously than your pride. Many people spend their entire lives emotionally reacting to everything around them. Their mood depends on traffic, social media comments, rude customers, delayed messages, family drama, and random opinions from people they barely know. They give away emotional control constantly without realizing it. But calm people understand something powerful. Not every event deserves emotional ownership. Some situations deserve action, others deserve acceptance, others deserve distance, and many deserve absolutely no attention at all. One of the greatest emotional skills in life is learning what deserves your energy and what deserves release. You cannot stop every difficult situation from appearing, but you can stop building a home for those situations inside your mind. Another important realization is that peace does not come from controlling everybody around you. That is impossible. People will continue being imperfect. Some will be selfish. Some will disappoint you. Some will misunderstand you no matter how clearly you explain yourself. If your peace depends on everyone behaving correctly, you will remain emotionally unstable forever. Real peace comes from learning how to respond wisely even when life is imperfect. It comes from accepting that other people are responsible for their actions while you are responsible for your reactions. This understanding creates emotional independence. Suddenly, your emotional state is no longer controlled by every careless person you meet. You stop expecting strangers to carry responsibility for your inner stability. That responsibility becomes yours. This does not mean becoming cold or emotionally disconnected. In fact, calm people often feel emotions deeply. They simply refuse to let emotions completely control their behavior. They experience anger without becoming destructive. They experience disappointment without becoming bitter. They experience conflict without losing themselves inside it. That balance is true strength. Anyone can explode emotionally. Anyone can scream, insult, or react impulsively. But remaining calm while feeling strong emotions requires awareness, discipline, and inner training. Think about the people who truly impress you emotionally. Usually, they are not the loudest people in the room. They are the people who remain centered during pressure. They listen before reacting. They choose words carefully. They know how to walk away when necessary. They know how to protect their boundaries without unnecessary drama. Their calmness creates stability around them because emotional discipline always influences the atmosphere of relationships, families, workplaces, and friendships. And the beautiful thing is that this ability can be trained. You do not need a perfect personality to become calmer. You only need willingness to practice awareness consistently. Every difficult moment becomes an opportunity to strengthen emotional control. Every irritation becomes practice. Every conflict becomes training. Little by little, you stop seeing anger as something that owns you. Instead, you begin seeing it as information, a temporary signal that can be understood without becoming your identity. That shift changes your entire experience of life. One day, you suddenly notice that you recover faster than before. You forgive faster. You let go faster. You breathe before speaking. You no longer waste entire nights replaying conversations in your head. The world around you may still be noisy, chaotic, and imperfect, but your inner world becomes steadier, quieter, and stronger. That is real emotional freedom. That is real power. And that kind of peace is available to you every single day if you continue training it patiently inside yourself.